Welcome to Ink and Magic, a podcast where we read and discuss the writing craft, world building, and romance of paranormal and fantasy novels.
If you love books with bite, set in worlds of magic and mayhem, then you're in the right place. My name's Nikisha Shanae. I go by Ines.
And I'm Leslie. I write as Elle Penelope. And welcome to the show.
Hey Leslie, what is up?
Hey Inez, we are almost at the end of the year. This episode comes out right before the end of the year. So Happy New Year to you all if you're listening to it in the future. And we're planning for the future, even though we're speaking to you from the past.
It's my favorite time. I get to play with a whole bunch of planners and stickers, and I am just in heaven right now.
You do that every day, to be fair.
This is true. My favorite method is the Heart Breathing's HB90 method, developed by our friend Sarah Cannon, who's been on the show before. And what she did, she breaks the year down instead of planning once a year, and then that plan falling to pieces as it does
In February.
She plans every quarter, and then within the quarter, she's planning the months, and she's planning the weeks, and she's planning the days. And I was like, whoa. And I'm already jumping in. The planner that she introduced me to is the EC planner, the Erin Condren Daily Duo, which is just my heart. In high school, I used to do the at a glance that you would like get at the convenience store.
Yeah, the whole year at a glance.
A whole year at a glance. Well, they had it a year at a glance, but then they would have monthly and weekly.
I remember you had like a Filofax or something in college, like some big like binder, right? Am I wrong?
I don't remember. I used the at a glance. It was a pocketbook size, not like a backpack size planner, but not like, I don't think I had a Filofax.
It wasn't a giant binder, but it was like a small binder.
Yeah,
like a leather bound kind of thing. Very fancy.
Yeah. I love organization. I love stationery stores.
Me too.
Anytime I go to the grocery store, I always make a trip down the school supplies aisle just because it calms me down.
Paper, pens, all of it. Stickers. Yes.
You're not as into stickers as I am.
I have a giant manila folder full of stickers. I'm not into using stickers. I'm into collecting stickers. I like having stickers. And then I just admire them. I pull them out of the envelope. I look at them. I put them back in the envelope. Occasionally, I will use them for certain things, but not to the extent and with the commitment level that you do. And I appreciate you for that.
Yes, I am constantly buying and replenishing my sticker stash. I started making stickers. This is my new hobby, is making stickers.
Are you going to get one of those fancy machines like a Cricut or
no. I'm going to draw the line there. I found the companies. I now know how to design them, and I have found the companies that will do what's called the kiss cut, where they will go around the lines, which is what the cry cut does. But no, I'm not going to get one of those. No.
Okay, we'll see. We'll check back in a year. You might have like a whole craft room.
This is entirely possible. Yes. But as of right now, no. As of right now, my planner system is I use an Erin Condren Daily Duo every single day. And we'll put some links in the show notes for you guys if you're curious to look at this. But I do the Erin Condren on a daily basis. The Daily Duo has time blocks. So it goes from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday. And it's in 6 months. Each planner book is in 6 months, but it also has a to-do list, which is more important to me. I get stressed out when I say I have to start something at exactly 8 a.m. because if it's 8:01, I feel like I failed. So it's more important to me to have that to-do list.
Yeah, and I went through bullet journals like by hand. At one point I was printing out my own and cutting the paper and doing the binding it myself with those rings. Now I have evolved in the past few years. I've been using an Agendio planner. I've used the Erin Condren Daily Duo and I liked that, but the Agendio lets you customize it for a very similar price. And so I do one for every 2 quarters. So basically 2 planners a year I order, and they're customized to my specifications. They've got my events, my family's birthdays are printed in there. I do each day. So it goes from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then I have categories. So mine are priorities, get it done, calls and emails, and orders and shipping, orders and shopping. No, shipping. I don't know. I can't read it from like 2 feet away on my desk. But I it's like a to-do list grouped into 4 parts. And it's got tabs for all the months. So it's very similar. It's just something that like I like having everything like customized personally to me.
Mhm.
And this was Agenda was recommended by one of my podcast listeners, and it's been great for the past few years.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. I get really excited talking to people about their systems and hearing what they do differently, and I love that you compartmentalize your
Hmm.
different, to-do lists. I color code mine
Ah,
because that gives me the opportunity to use the plethora of pens that I have.
there's another planner that I have that's like a 8 by 11. It's from Ink and Vault, and it's their dashboard, like the weekly dashboard. And so with the Agendio, there is a weekly spread. I have a month calendar, I have a weekly spread, and I have a daily spread. I mostly
Mm.
use it for the daily, and then I'll use the Ink and Vault for to like group my priorities and focus areas for the week. So I'll put a link to this in, and this has been really helpful too, to get a big picture of the week and then break it down each day. It's kind of how I approach it.
With my big picture, I'm still an at a glance girl. I have I have a 12-month calendar on the wall, that you can use. I could write, with dry erase marker on, but I
Mhm.
don't. Instead I put stickers on it. So I have my publishing calendar up there. I put up the promotions that I'm going to be doing for the year, and I like to see that because I like to know that I am doing something every single week to promote my business. So I can look at that at a glance and I can see that something is happening. I can see when my releases are. I can see when I have a big event that's happening, and and it's on the wall. I don't have
Mhm.
to like open up a book and look at different months.
Yeah, I'd rather have that digitally. Everything, of course, goes into Google Calendar, and I'm looking at my month calendar on a daily basis just so I know what's coming up. It's in my head. I'm getting ready for it. I do have a whiteboard that I use, and I'm changing the way I use it pretty regularly because I haven't figured out exactly. Right now, it's like a list of things to do. And then I also have some Post-it notes for the projects I'm working on right now. I've recently gone back to Trello. It's like a digital Kanban board for my planning for my various businesses, and that's helping. I realized that I get visually overwhelmed very easily. And so a lot of times I will have a project management system or a planning system, and it gets visually overwhelming, and then I'll stop using it. I won't open it. I used to use ClickUp. I've used Todoist. I've used a variety of different digital tools, but when there's too many projects, there's too many tasks on it, I open it up, I get completely overwhelmed, and I close it. And so they stop working after a while. And so with Trello, I mean, part of me is thinking that like maybe I'm just a person who has to like revolve to different systems every year or so, and that might be a thing I have to accept, that I have to look at it in different ways. But also I'm thinking that if I only see 3 or 4 things at a time, then I'm not overwhelmed. I can keep a master list somewhere else, but if it's in my face all the time, then I just get antsy. So I'm kind of part of like learning how to manage your time and plan your projects and plan your goals is learning about yourself, how you work,
Mhm.
what works best for you. Like you like to see it, you need it on the wall. Like that would stress me out. So figuring out what are your triggers, what makes you happy, what gives you energy, what pulls energy away from you, even when you're just looking at things.
So speaking of, so we've been talking a lot about the tools that we use, but we haven't really talked much about like how we set goals. What are goals? We haven't delved into that just yet.
Mhm.
And what makes the most sense to me because I'm a goal setter. I've been a goal setter probably since I came out of the womb, and I knew that I wanted to make it down the birth canal in like 10 minutes. But I love the notion of having SMART goals. That really is helpful to me, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard about this term of having a SMART goal. A SMART goal is having a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound goal. And this is helpful to me because I like to be rewarded. I like to be acknowledged. I like to know when I've hit my goal. I get frustrated with people, authors really, when they say, I want to be a success. And then I ask, well, what does that mean? I don't know, just a success. And like, how do you know? How will you know when you're a success? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. And I need the specifics. So instead of saying something like, I want to write more, I need people to be more specific. I need them to say, I want to write a short story, a 10,000 word short story, or I want to write a 75,000 word romance novel. Then you know when you hit 5,000 words, you're a success. Or when you hit 75,000 words, you're a success. When I talk about measurable, like if we keep with that 75,000 word romance novel, okay, you need to be able to measure that so that you can. I'm a big person. I'm big among tracking progress. So, and I like milestones because I have an annual, quarterly, a monthly, a weekly, and a daily planner. So if I said something like I'm going to write 500 words a day, or 1,000 words a day, or 10,000 words a week, that's measurable. I can check it off. I can see that I hit that mile marker, and I know that I'm getting closer to my goal of 75,000 words. You want to make sure that it's attainable too. I write a lot. I won't tell you how many books I write a year because I really don't know, because I'm very list oriented. I'm not like quantity oriented. So I write a lot. I write a lot of words every day. So but you want to make your goals attainable. You don't want to say, well, Ines, she's working on 2 or 3 manuscripts at a time. That might not be attainable for you your first time out. So you want to say, I want to write 1,000 words a day, and I want to finish this 75,000 word novel in 6 months. You can do the math, and that can be attainable, instead of I'm going to write the 75,000 word book in a week. That's probably not attainable for the vast majority of people. I do know some people who can do that. I'm not one of them.
Me neither.
Right. So I have some friends who will write 10,000, 15,000 words a day, and then they finish in a week, and then they're like, they sit and stare at the wall for a week, and it works for them. I can't imagine. You also want to make sure that your goals are relevant, that they are aligned with what your broader aspirations are. For example, you I know that I want my novels to support my long-term financial goals. So even though I have visions of writing novels, let me put it this way: even though there are some series that didn't resonate with readers that I still want to complete, I know that if I took the time to write those series, to complete them, there's not a readership there for them. And my goal is not to complete the series. My goal is for the novel to be able to take care of take care of my financial needs. So if I were to choose to go back to a series that wasn't working, that didn't hit the market well, that would not be relevant to my goal of being able to have that novel support me. And then you want it to be time bound. And again, we talked about how maybe you're going to write this novel in 6 months. Have like a deadline there. Like 6 months is a deadline. Have that first draft done by June 30th. Hire a developmental editor once you finish the draft, or be ready to query agents by July the 1st, something like that. So it's smart, it's measurable, it's attainable, relevant, and it's also time bound.
And in terms of having relevant goals, I've recently started using this decision matrix, and I have a separate video. I'll link to it in the show notes, describing how to use the decision matrix and giving you a template, because everyone's goals are going to be different. There was a time in my life where money wasn't as relevant as other things. Like, my knowing why you're writing in the first place. Why do you want to be an author? What is your goal for your career? My goal is to have an impact. I really want to be someone's favorite author. I want to have books that are going to last for a really long time, and I write slower. So those are part of the things that are my engine, that are driving me. And since I do have another job, I'm not a full-time author. For me, money is not the most relevant thing in terms of the projects that I'm choosing. It's a factor, but using this weighted decision matrix has really allowed me to clarify what are my goals? How am I making decisions about the things that I'm doing and what is important to me? So it's like I have decided on these 5 different criteria for decision making. And one of them is creativity and joy. Like, how much joy does this project bring me? How does it use my creativity? Another one is like values in terms of my author brand. Like, what do I want to stand for in the world? And one of them is money. And so there's certain decisions that I'm making that are money focused, but there's other decisions that I'm making that are more creativity and joy focused or more values focused. And so knowing what your engine, what's driving you, what is your unique situation, and then putting things through some kind of criteria for deciding, okay, what's next, and prioritizing the things that you want to do. Both of us, we went to the Author Nation conference in Vegas recently and came back with a long list of ideas and inspiration and things that we've seen people doing and just cool things. And for me, I was like, okay, I know it's not possible to do all of these, certainly not at the same time. And maybe it will take many years to do all of these projects. So how do I decide what is happening in 2025? What's 2026? I think SMART goals is definitely important, but also like, how are you then going to prioritize those SMART goals and assign a value to them? So that's what something like a weighted decision matrix, which is basically just a spreadsheet, allows me to do. And I'm really a fan of this now. It's been helping so much.
Speaking of types of goals, I think that's super interesting too. And I think that there are 3 types of goals. I think that there are income goals, as I was talking about with having my business take care of me. I think there are emotional goals, which Leslie was really leaning into with the decision matrix. But I also think that there are performance goals, and the performance goals are they're related to your career other than income. So it could be, I want to grow my fandom, and that can be measured by you increase your newsletter subscribers, or you increase your following on social media, or you hit a certain number of pre-orders with your next book that is going to be available for sale. So goals don't just have to be about money. They can, and please understand that that is perfectly great if they are about money. I am income driven. And they can absolutely be emotional, because it's really important that you have the energy,
Yes.
the joy to keep going. And I actually recommend having a mix of different types of goals.
Yeah, I think that makes you well-rounded. It covers your bases. I mean, our businesses, we're all running businesses, right? So we do have to focus on income. If you're not making a profit after 5 years, you're not a business. So profit is important. But how do you continue to do the things that earn you money? You have to focus on your emotions, and to a certain degree, because we're creative, we're writing, and you can't do that in a vacuum. There's also something to be said about systems versus goals. And if you've read Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think he talks about this. So sometimes, like, okay, having the goal of increasing your newsletter followers by 1,000, that's valid. But for some people, that's going to be stressful, or it's like, how do I even do that? So another approach is to say, I'm going to create a system where I write a newsletter every week, or where I apply to newsletter swaps every month. And I'm going to create a list of strategies that ideally are going to increase my subscribers, but I'm not going to attach myself to the number. I'm going to attach myself to the work, to the thing that is going to get me there. So maybe numbers drive you, or maybe instead of saying I'm going to write 75,000 word romance novel by, in the next 3 months. Another way to do that is to say, I'm going to write, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week for the next X number of months. And both are strategies to get you there. But, everyone's different. Some things are going to motivate you, the numbers, the word count. And sometimes it's just, I'm going to sit in this chair for this many hours, this many times a week until I get this book done.
Yeah, that is so true. I can't write by word count. Because my this is another thing of hacking yourself. Like, I know I remember sitting in my favorite bar stool in a cafe that is now closed. It's become like a sub shop in my cute little town. And I say little, but it's not. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. There's no little towns here. But I remember like getting to 1,000 words and realizing the scene's not done. Like, should I stop? And also remembering another time where I didn't get to 1,000 words and the scene was done. I was like, should I go back and pad? Should I go back and break apart contractions? This was serious discussions in my head. And so I realized for myself that that doesn't work for me. What works for me is, today I'm going to write the meet cute. And I know what's involved in that plot point, that beat of a meet cute, and I'm going to make sure that I hit all of the notes, all of the beats, all of the requirements of the meet cute. And once I've done that, my writing session is done for the day. That works for me. And sometimes I'm scrabbling because I'm not really sure, and I hit 500 words. And sometimes I'm in it and I will be over 2,000 words, but it doesn't matter, because what my goal is to get that scene and its requirements done. So you really need to hack yourself. For some people, it pushes them. Once they get to 501, that 501st word, something unlocks in them. They hit a flow state and they can just go. That might be you. Or you might take things a little too literally and you're like 1,000 words and you will be in the middle of a sentence and you'll stop.
And I think we can be different people at different times. Like there are times when the word count helps me, when there's times when just being like, I'm going to write until noon and, from 8 a.m. to noon and see what happens. So be flexible, try different strategies. Kind of hacking yourself can sometimes require trying a lot of different things and, seeing what works for you.
Yeah. I do have another strategy when it comes to goals, and that's assigning money jobs. And this has been helpful to me too. I've tried a couple of different notions. I've tried the profit. I don't like budgets because they seem like they're like time blocks again, and it stresses me out. I love the profit first method, which was developed by Mike Makowski. Good luck spelling his name, but if you just type in profit first, you'll find it. But the profit first method, which is not assigning money jobs, I'm jumping around. The profit first method basically has you dividing your income by percentages, but the goal of it is to pay yourself first. You pay into not even yourself, you pay into your profit account first. So your profit account might be 5% of whatever you make. Then you might pay 5 to 10% of taxes, depending upon your tax bracket. But this is like every time you get paid. Some authors get paid every day. Like I'm wide and I have my own web store. Money comes into my account every day. Some people get paid once a month, once every 60 days, once a quarter, once a year. But you break these down, and then your income goal, like your owner's compensation, that might be like 30 or 40%. Again, your numbers would depend upon you. And then you have an owner's compensation account as well, and that might be another 30 to 40%. He has really great detailed breakdowns of how this should work for you. And that has been working for me for the last year and a half. But before that, I assigned money jobs, and this still works for me. So I know I'm just outside of Washington, D.C. My household expenses every month comes to $3,000. I know that I need to make $3,000 a month. And that feels really good to me, because I know once I hit that number, I'm good. I'm golden. It's not that I can coast, but it's that there's a sense of security that washes over me. And once I have that security, I'm ready to play. I'm like, ooh, let me try this. What if I tried that? I become less risk averse because I've hit my goal. Now I can now I can try out different things to see if I can make even more money, or to see if I can make the money even faster. My business expenses every month can be anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, depending upon what I'm doing. So I know that money needs to come in. I unfortunately am still paying down debt. I got my undergrad for pretty much free. I think I had like a couple $1,000s worth of debt when I left undergrad, but then I got a graduate degree.
Or two or three.
Hush up, Leslie. But I didn't get a scholarship for those, so I had to I incurred debt for my undergrad degree.
For graduate.
My daughter, whichever one. And my daughter decided to go to school out of the country, even though it was an American school, it's out of the country. So she didn't qualify for a lot of aid. She got a scholarship from the school, but I had to come and fork out basically her living expenses I had to pay for. And she moved to Rome. Yay! Which isn't that expensive, but still, it was debt that I incurred. And so I'm paying about $2,000 a month in that kind of debt. And then, of course, I want to save money. So I try to save right now. I've tried to save $2,000 a month. And then I want to take care of myself and have some entertainment. So I have a budget of $1,000, which I never really spend all of it. So if you added all that together at the high end, that's $13,000 a month. But that's actually comforting to me, because then the money has a job. And I know, well, if I didn't, of course you have to pay into your living expenses. That is non-negotiable. But if say I don't hit that number on a month, then something has to give. Like I can't do if I want to do special editions and I was going to have to shell out a couple $1,000s to get the special editions. Well, you can't do that this month because you didn't hit the all the money targets that you had. Or maybe you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, meaning rob your savings to pay for something else. Maybe you have to do something like that. But that's another way to think of it. I prefer the profit first because then I don't even have to think of it. Now I look into my owner's expense, my operating expenses account. And if the money isn't there, I can't do it. So I like that better.
Yeah, it feels more freeing. I started using the app YNAB, which stands for You Need a Budget, which uses the philosophy that every dollar has a job. And that's because I'm freelance with my website development business, which means I get paid. One month I'll get paid a lot, and next month I'll get paid nothing at all. It just depends on when the invoices happen. I'm traditionally published, which means I get royalties twice a year. I get my advances whenever they show up, which is like when I turn in a manuscript, so that's usually once or twice a year, or when the book comes out, I get another chunk of money. My money, and I've been self-employed for over 20 years. So my money has just been all over the place. And it was fine when I was married and my ex-husband had a very steady income and we could live on that. And my money was doing specific things for our household. But as a single income person now, I had to okay, how did I do this before I got married? I didn't remember, because I was married for 15 years and I was like, I was self-employed then, but I also had a couple of jobs. And so, relooking at what does my money have to do? And how do I manage things when money comes in at different times? And even if you are completely indie published, the money comes in every month, but it's going to fluctuate based on your sales. And so there's all kinds of things when you're an entrepreneur to some degree, like you have to come up with a strategy. So YNAB has been great because it puts things into buckets. They're kind of virtual buckets. So I do profit first, and I also do YNAB. So I have multiple bank accounts and then the sort of virtual bank accounts. And that lets me know, oh, my money, even if it's all in one savings account, it's doing different jobs. Part of it is saving for vacation. Part of it is, going to be used for, my subscriptions or whatever. Like everything has a job. Part of it is saving for home repairs or car repairs or whatever. And that has been really great. It takes a little getting used to if you haven't used this app before. There's a bunch of videos. I still do not know if I'm using it 100% right, but however I'm using it has been working and has been making me feel more confident about knowing, even if I'm getting paid every 3 or 4 months, which happens in larger chunks, that I know what the money is doing. And so figuring out a way to manage however you're getting your money. If you have a steady paycheck, that's great too. But sometimes you need help even with a steady paycheck, knowing how to save for unexpected things, your emergency savings, retirement, all that stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot. And I think one of the things that we don't think of as artists and as authors is retirement and exit strategies, because you feel like you're going to write stories forever. Our tool is our imagination, and that's never going to stop. But our hands might stop. We might get very ill, and I have a friend who she has a disorder that causes her to sleep most of the day. She doesn't want to, but she can't help it. Her body is just going to shut down on her. There's all manner of things that can happen. We get older. My dad, unfortunately, has a kidney disease, so he's a musician, and he had to stop doing a lot of things. Like the unexpected happens. And we need to prepare for that. So even though like right now, I'm riding high, but I need to be thinking, what am I going to do in the future when I'm not producing as many books as I'm producing, or when the market shifts? I have a lot of books, and like 20% of the books make all the money, and some books never ever see a sale. What happens when the 20% then falls on the wayside of those other books? It's gonna happen. Like there's books that we haven't even heard of that were popular 50 years ago, 75 years ago. They're not selling anymore.
2 years ago, last year. Seriously.
Right. You're absolutely right. And it's going to happen. So we need to be thinking exit strategies. How are we going to get out of this business with our money intact? We need to be thinking about retirement. How are we going to take care of ourselves? How can our books, how can our IP take care of us when we are older? It's a lot to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah, running a business is no joke. There's so many considerations. And even traditionally published authors are running businesses, even if someone is technically paying you, you're not doing all of the same tasks, even though you still do a lot of the same tasks. Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, but it's very doable. There's lots of resources that can help with that. Having a financial planner is a great idea. I know people with bookkeepers, definitely a tax accountant. All these kinds of things are really useful to have.
Yeah. I know we usually talk about craft, but this is the other side of craft is making sure that you're protecting the artist, which is you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So have you finished your 2025 goals? I think you probably were done a few months ago.
Yeah. So yes, my goals. I am so for the last since 2018. I started publishing in 2014, and I just had one pen name, just Ines Johnson, in 2014 until 2018. And Ines Johnson, she made part-time income for me. It was great. But because I was still teaching at a college at that time, I was teaching at an art college. And in 2018, I developed a second pen name, Shanae Johnson, which is my middle name. And Shanae just took off. She just absolutely took off, was flying the stratosphere. But guess what, guys? Here it is, 2024, and the market has shifted. The books that were so popular that Shanae was writing, it's the market has changed. It's really when I look at the Shanae writes Clean and Wholesome Romance. Just a few years ago, Clean and Wholesome Romance was dominated by military and cowboy romances and billionaire romances. Now it's a hodgepodge. It's just an absolute hodgepodge, and it's really difficult to I'm finding it really difficult to continue to grow my audience. I still have the audience that I had, but if you're not growing, you are constricting. That's a hard lesson that I learned. Um, but as that happened, my Ines Johnson pen name that writes a lot of fantasy, romantasy has taken off. And I wrote one romantasy book this year, and it continues to do really well with little to no promo. So 2025 is all about the romantasy for me, and I have three new series coming out in just romantasy, and I'm very excited.
I can tell. Yeah, all
Hmm.
kinds of plans.
Hmm.
Big plans. Yeah, so my 2025, I know, I'm writing a book now that I sold to my publisher. I'm doing a romantasy with a certain podcast co-host in her share
Ooh,
world.
who is that?
I'm sure you'll hear more about that in
Yes.
2025. And I have created on my Trello board, I have various lists for the other ideas. And I'm still working on my 2025 plan. That's the month of December. I'll be doing that. So I've split it into short term, got quick wins,
Mm.
medium wins, longer term projects that will be hopefully longer term wins, some ideas for things that might just please the readers, some things I'm unsure about. And I'm using the decision matrix and trying to really organize my thoughts, figure out what I want to be doing, and then break those down into tasks, into like projects and then tasks, and try to split them out, do some quarterly planning. I don't always do like the full year, quarter, month, week, day. I'm a little bit more sporadic with it. Like I have a broad idea. I do some level of weekly and daily planning. I do like time boxing, especially when I'm in a time crunch. But these are not things that I do religiously every single day. I kind of spin up more organization when I need it. When I'm, very busy, then I really have to order my time right now. I mean, I'm coming out of an extremely busy period the last few months. And I'm kind of just like, oh, today, what do I have to do? Oh, I can rest. I can like play around with things. It's very nice to have time to breathe and not to schedule my day so much. But I do want to approach 2025 with a good, clear plan. And I'm excited about the things that I'm writing. And I'm excited about the other projects bubbling up as soon as I figure out exactly which ones I'm going to do and which ones I'm going to do first.
That sounds absolutely magical. And I'm wondering if we have some everyday magic that we can share with our listeners.
My everyday magic is I made some brownies last night that really made me extremely happy. So I've been gluten-free for a few years, and I'm also allergic to rice, which means I cannot eat most gluten-free products that are on the market because almost 99.9% of them have rice flour. So I've been buying this flour, and so most of the baked goods I bake myself. And I've been, slowly trying different recipes. I'm lucky that it's a one-to-one replacement flour. So I was like, I haven't had brownies in forever. I miss them. I really loved Betty Crocker, that the box. I don't like fancy special fudgy brownies. I just want it to taste like Betty Crocker. So I found a recipe online. I made it. It was relatively easy, and they taste like Betty Crocker, and they're
Oh.
so delicious. My brownies are magical. They made me extremely happy. I'm looking forward to having some more. After we start recording, I'm going to have lunch and a brownie. So that is my everyday magic. Do you have any
I'm
magic to share?
so happy for you. Yes. My everyday magic. Okay. So, about 2 years ago, I ventured out onto Kickstarter with my Shanae Johnson penning. I had made this omnibus of the 5 most popular books that pen name sold, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do an omnibus of all the books, and I'm gonna offer it as a hardback. And I have thousands of readers for Shanae Johnson. I told these thousands of readers about this Kickstarter. 20 of them supported the campaign. And I was crushed. I was so crushed. I was like, I don't understand what happened. But the
Yeah.
funny thing was that after the Kickstarter was over and I had stuff because when you fund your Kickstarter, you have to complete it. So only 20 people got books, but I had like maybe it was like 150 books ordered, and then I put them on my website and everybody bought them. I was so confused. I was so confused. The sweet readers just are not interested in Kickstarter. They're like,
Yeah.
put it on your website, I'll come. But so
Mhm.
I wrote a nonfiction book. I wrote a nonfiction book called Page Turner Pacing, and it's ready. I was about to release it. I was in Florida at NINC talking to one of our good friends, Russell Nolte, and he basically twisted my arm and said, "You need to kickstart that." I was like, "No, Kickstarter doesn't work for me." And he's like, "You need to kickstart that." So I went in thinking that, okay, only 20 people are going to follow me again. And I posted this on my Facebook page. I have hundreds of um, authors on an author newsletter. And it's just been a few days and 175 people have already followed it. And I'm just so floored and so happy and so amazed. I really thought nobody was going to pay any attention. And that I just keep looking at that 175 number. This doesn't launch until January. So it's going to be launching in a couple of weeks when you guys hear this. But 175 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The audience is different. These people understand Kickstarter. They've supported other Kickstarters. You really have to look at who you're talking to and
Yeah.
what, and maybe this Shanae audience needs to be educated more, or maybe they
No,
just will never be a Kickstarter audience.
I'm good. I'm good. They'll buy from my website. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
But yes, so that's my magic, and we hope that you guys have gotten some ideas about planning your 2025 and making it the best possible. We want to thank you so much for joining us today, and please let us know what you think and what your plan is. You can leave a comment on YouTube with your thoughts on the episode. Please do share it with a friend who loves romance or planning and stickers and pens. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And you can check our book schedule on our website, inkandmagic.net, to read along with us. All the show notes with all the things that we have talked about today are going to be in the show notes as well. And we will see you next time. Happy New Year.
Bye, guys.
Bye.